There's something your brain does without asking your permission, without you being able to control it, and it has nothing to do with being tired. You're reading this right now, thinking about yawning, and somewhere in your face you already feel the urge. It's not a coincidence. It's not cheap suggestion. It's one of the strangest reflexes the human body has, and science only started understanding why it happens in the last 20 years. Contagious yawning isn't some hallway myth. It's been studied in labs using MRI scans, and something very specific happens. When you see someone yawn, the same regions of your brain activate as when you yawn yourself. Regions tied to empathy, to putting yourself, literally, in someone else's place. That's why newborn babies barely catch yawns from each other, and kids with certain conditions that affect social reading don't either. Contagious yawning needs your brain to recognize the other person as someone like me. There are studies that measured this with uncomfortable precision. You're more likely to catch a yawn from family, then from friends, then from acquaintances, and almost never from strangers. Your brain uses yawning as a social thermometer. It's basically saying, this bond is strong, I'm in sync with this person. In fact, even dogs yawn when they see their owner yawn. Not just any human, they're human. Emotional synchrony crosses the species barrier when there's a real bond. But before going further into contagion, there's a more basic question almost nobody asks. What's the point of yawning in the first place, even when no one's watching? For decades, people believed yawning was a way to pull more oxygen into the body when you're tired. But that myth has been debunked. In experiments where people breathed air with more or less oxygen, the number of yawns didn't change at all. Oxygen has nothing to do with it. What does seem confirmed is something else entirely. Yawning is a reset mechanism for your alertness state. You yawn more when you're about to fall asleep, but also right after you wake up. In both cases, your brain is making an abrupt transition between states, and yawning seems to help that transition, stretching the muscles of your face and jaw and briefly boosting blood flow to the brain. And here's a fact that surprises almost everyone. Babies yawn inside the womb. With 4D ultrasounds, researchers have watched fetuses as young as 20 weeks yawning repeatedly, long before any concept of tiredness or boredom could possibly exist. For a long time, this was thought to be simple muscle exercise to prepare the respiratory system. But more recent studies suggest something different. It might be part of early nervous system development, a kind of brain calibration that repeats thousands of times before birth. There's still no full consensus, but it's one of the strongest clues that yawning is far older and far deeper than such a simple gesture would suggest. Now, back to the physical side of contagion. One of the strongest theories says yawning is a way to regulate brain temperature. When you yawn, a rush of cool air enters and cools the blood flowing straight to your brain. In experiments where people had a cold compress on their forehead, contagious yawning dropped dramatically. The body somehow knows when it doesn't need that cooling effect. Another piece of the puzzle is mirror neurons, the same cells that fire when someone smiles at you and you smile back without meaning to, or when someone gets hurt and you wince in response. Contagious yawning would be an automatic primitive version of that same imitation circuit. And this isn't exclusive to humans. Chimpanzees catch yawns from each other, and so do wolves. In wolves, something particular happens. The ones closer in rank or social bond to another wolf are the ones most likely to catch its yawn, almost mirroring the same pattern we saw with human family and friends. This strengthens the idea that contagious yawning isn't some isolated quirk of the human brain, but a much older evolutionary tool tied to group cohesion. Species that live and hunt in packs seem to have each independently developed the same way of physically syncing up with those around them. And here's what almost nobody knows. Not everyone catches yawns equally, and it's not random who does it more. People with higher levels of psychopathic traits in non-clinical personality studies show less contagious yawning, less measured empathy, less shared yawning. A brain that doesn't sync emotionally with another person doesn't sync physiologically either. Now, the question you're probably asking yourself, can you resist it? In experiments where people were asked to hold back a yawn while watching videos of others yawning, almost no one fully succeeded. The best they managed was delaying it a few seconds, never eliminating it. And here's the strangest part. The harder you try to suppress it, the stronger the urge feels. It's a reflex that lives in a part of the brain that doesn't respond well to conscious willpower, something much closer to an automatic blink than an actual decision. So next time someone yawns beside you and you feel that strange pull in your jaw, it's not weakness or suggestion. It's your brain recognizing another human being as part of your own group, copying their state without asking your permission. Such a simple gesture, and yet it turns out to be one of the most honest proofs that we really are connected to the people around us.
If this channel just gave you that same uncomfortable curiosity, hit subscribe. There are plenty more strange questions waiting for answers.